Hurricane Milton has dropped to a Category 3 now as it churns toward Florida's west coast. The National Hurricane Center predicted it would likely weaken, but remain a major storm when it makes landfall. The Tampa Bay area, home to more than 3.3 million people, face the possibility of widespread destruction after avoiding direct hits from major hurricanes for more than a century. Hurricane Milton is expected to make landfall in Florida late Wednesday or early Thursday, but heavy rains and wind gusts already hit some areas. The storm is so powerful, 7 tornadoes have already hit the state, according to the National Weather Service, adding that there had been 53 tornado warnings issued by 3 p.m. today. Video shows the tornado damage in Fort Myers, where roofs were completely blown off homes, as well as downed trees, power lines, and fences. But conditions are expected to get worse when the storm arrives.
Winds will be fierce at well over 100 miles per hour, with storm surges reaching up to 15 feet. Up to 18 inches of rain. It's looking like the storm of the century.
But if you think about 10 feet is pretty much a story. So if you're in a single-story house on the coast and you get 10 feet of storm surge, you're on your roof, hoping that you can even get there. So that's why the storm surge is so dangerous.
Officials have been warning residents to get out before it's too late.
Counties from Levy to Collier have ordered mandatory evacuations, and I urge you to heed those warnings if you're in one of those zones.
The storm is expected to bring a life-threatening surge of seawater, shredding winds, and a deluge of rain to a region already battered by Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago.
If you're making a decision, you say, oh, it's too late, there's not enough room for me, there is room. Please come. Your home and belongings can be replaced, but you cannot.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly also reminding any Canadians in the region to follow evacuation orders. Last-minute evacuees were lining up to fill their tanks before they left today.
I've been here for 38 years and never had one enforce us to do this. Never being able to find fuel. This is the only place that has fuel. We boarded up the windows with metal sheeting. We've cleaned everything up.
And for anyone who decides to stay.
And at a certain point, when we get 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds, we will not be responding to emergency calls because we don't want to put our first responders at risk. People need to take this storm seriously. We had 6 feet of surge during Hurricane Helene. Almost a dozen lives were lost in Pinellas County and the city of St. Petersburg. This coming storm, Milton, has the capacity to double that storm surge.
By early afternoon, airlines had canceled about 1,900 U.S. flights.
There is high confidence that this hurricane is going to pack a major punch and do an awful lot of damage.
Officials say those in the path of the storm are most likely going to lose power.
What we see from these storms is that the majority of the fatalities come from the storm surge, come from the water.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, also reminding Americans that they're prepared.
I want the people to hear it from me directly. FEMA is ready. Our agency is postured to respond to this storm and help the state of Florida.
Another worry for some experts is how well the buildings in Tampa can withstand the storm.
And even an amazing state like Florida with such great building codes, those codes only apply to new construction. So as I look at the families in Tampa, I'm worried. They haven't seen a storm like this in about 100 years. That means many of their buildings are built before Florida's modern building code, are actually sitting on level or on grade and not elevated, which means they are incredibly vulnerable to this storm, making it a really worst case scenario for them.
While the worst of Hurricane Milton is expected to hit tonight, high winds, heavy rain, and tornado conditions have already begun along Florida's Gulf Coast. CNN reporter Lee Waldman is on the ground in Tampa, Florida tonight. Emergency officials are warning of a life or death situation due to extreme conditions in that part of the state and are telling residents that their window to leave safely is closing by the minute.
Well, we've really seen conditions deteriorate in the last 30 minutes. Rain has really kicked up. Wind has really kicked up here. Take a look at the street that we're on. It is already starting to flood. We're starting to see small pieces of debris rip off the trees that we're surrounded by here. We could see a clear image of the bay behind us, but that's starting to go in and out. It's really starting to deteriorate. We saw some cars starting to drive around here, but people who were told to evacuate days ago, now they have no time to leave. Anyone who is left here in Tampa are being told to hunker down where they are. If they're at one of the many shelters that are opened, they need to be there and be safe and be prepared to stay for a while, because this storm is packing a punch. We're expecting to see anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rainfall, and that's not surprising with how much rain we've seen here today. And with storm surge, anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. That is a life-threatening amount of water that is expected to come here. That's not including all the wind that's expected to come. Once there's sustained wind of 40 miles per hour, first responders cannot come to your calls for help anymore in this area. That's why people were told to get out of here. Even if it's not a direct hit on Tampa anymore, it's still a life-threatening situation here.